And Ram put Jatayu's head in his lap. And when he heard from Jatayu what had happened, Ram said, on this very day, I will send you to Vaikuntha. I will give you the highest liberation to be my eternal associate in the spiritual world. And chanting the name of Ram, Jatayu died in Ram's lap. It's not about being a success or failure in our endeavors from an external perspective. The Lord did not see that Jatayu failed. He did not see that he lost, because his intentions were with pure love to please the Lord. From Ram's perspective, Jatayu, he may have lost a battle, but he ultimately won the war. He was given the perfection of liberation. Ravana, he won the battle, but because he had the wrong intentions, he lost the war miserably. And when Jatayu passed away, Ram cried incessant tears, crying out that I have lost my best friend. Even the loss of my father Dasaratha and the abduction of Sita does not hurt my heart as the loss of a friend like Jatayu, who was willing to give his life to serve me and to serve Sita, who I love so dearly. The power of intention. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was in Sri Rangam, and there were many great pundits who were citing Sanskrit scriptures with perfect pronunciation. And there was that simple Brahmin who was quite illiterate, and he would sit and chant the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita every single day. But because he couldn't pronounce any of the words properly, and it took him so long, the different scholars considered him quite useless. Sometimes they laughed at him, sometimes they criticized him. But the very speaker of the Gita, Krishna, who appeared as Lord Chaitanya, when he saw him, he went right to this Brahmin and spoke to him. He said, what is it you're doing? Because the Lord sees his intention. He said, my Guru has ordered me to read the entire Bhagavad Gita in this spot every day. I'm illiterate. Sometimes I say it right, sometimes I say it wrong. I don't even know the difference. But I'm trying to please my Gurudev. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing that intention in him from within his heart, was very pleased. He said, if you don't understand so well, then why, when you're reading, do you look like you're in ecstasy? You're crying tears, your hairs are standing on end. And he said, because as I'm reading, I may not understand the words technically, but the whole time I'm seeing the beautiful form of Krishna within my heart, speaking these ambrosial words to Arjuna. Krishna's taking the role of the servant charioteer of Arjuna and instructing him in the message of the Gita, the love and the beauty of Krishna, the love of Krishna for his devotee. That brings tears to my eyes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood, because his intention was to serve and please his guru, even though he was being criticized and laughed at, Krishna was revealing the very essence of the Gita to him. Lord Chaitanya embraced him and said, "You are the true knower of the Bhagavad Gita." And with his embrace, he gave that Brahman the ultimate perfection of prema bhakti, the highest liberation. So from a material perspective, he was a failure as a scholar. But because his intention was pure, he attained the fruit of the study of all the scriptures. Vedaischa sarveraham eva vedya. Krishna says, by all the Vedas, I'm to be known. Rupa Goswami tells the story of that one devotee living on the bank of the Narmada River in South India. And he had no money, he had nothing. But he had an intention. He wanted to cook a feast for the pleasure of the Lord. He wanted to cook a wonderful feast to give the Lord pleasure. But how do you cook a feast when you have nothing? He sat on the bank of the river and closed his eyes, and in meditation, he went out and purchased all kinds of sabjis, and he made a beautiful little kitchen, and he started cooking the sabjis and cooking rice and cooking chutneys, and then he was making kheer, white rice with milk and sweetener. And step by step, he made the fire, he cooked it, he stirred it. He put it in the river to get cool, because he wanted to serve it very cold for Krishna's satisfaction. And to test to see if it was cold enough, he put his finger in it, and his finger was burnt because it was still hot. This is all in a meditation. And it hurt so much that he came out of his meditation and looked at his finger, and it was actually burnt. And in the spiritual world of Vaikuntha, Lord Narayan started to laugh. And Lakshmi Devi asked, "Why are you laughing?" He said, "Look down there and see that Brahman. He burnt his finger in his meditation." And the Lord came down and brought him to Vaikuntha, the ultimate perfection of life. So from a material perspective, he really had nothing to offer. But because his intention was to serve and to please Krishna, Krishna saw that intention to be an instrument of Krishna's compassion, to spread the message of Bhagavad Gita and Lord Chaitanya all over the world. That was his intention. But he had nothing. He had some boxes of books that he spent about 6 years writing, editing, getting published, taking loans, not from banks. He convinced the publisher to publish it and wait till he sold it for any payment, because he had nothing. And he came to Bombay to try to get passage to America. And at Juhu, Sumati Murarji was living, and he approached her. She was a great Vaishnavi of the Pushti Marg, the line of Sripad Vallabhacharya. And he knew that she loved Krishna. And he said, I want to spread the message of the Gita and devotion to Krishna all over the world. And you are the owner of a cargo ship line. Give me passage on one of your boats. He was just going on 70 years old. She told him, I can't do this to you. It's cold. No one will listen to you. You will die. He begged. He sat on her steps, saying, I won't move till I get a ticket. A great saint from Vrindavan. He was doing nothing for himself. And on the cargo ship, Jaladuta, 38 days, heart attacks, seasickness, so many trials and difficulties. And after passing through all that, when finally he arrived in the Boston Harbor area, he wrote prayers to Krishna, which revealed his intention. He didn't know if he would be success or failure by material standards. In one sense, he was like Jatayu. In the service of Ram, Jatayu, he was so old. He was sickly. How could he fight this fight against Ravana? Srila Prabhupada was single-handedly raging war against the whole material energy at such an old age, after heart attacks. No money, no people. But he was willing to fight for Krishna. And in his beautiful prayers, I have no power to give your message, Krishna, to these people. Only if you give me the words will they understand. My Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, has given me an impossible instruction. Only if you empower me can I reach these people's hearts. I am your puppet. Just make me dance the way you want me to dance. That was his intention. Nothing for himself. He didn't want liberation. He didn't want mystic powers. If he wanted any of those things, he would have just stayed in Vrindavan. He just wanted to show compassion and love to the world by giving them Krishna Bhakti. He wrote in his prayers that the people of this world are suffering so bad due to the influence of the modes of passion and ignorance. But by your power, let me be an instrument to make them happy. And like Jatayu, he fought. And he told us that sometimes he was thinking it wasn't possible. But still, like that Brahmin in South India, to serve his guru and please his guru, he was just going to try. And what was the power of his intention? That's all he had, was his intention. His faith in the holy name, his faith in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and his intention to give it to the world. Within a few years, hundreds and thousands of people coming. Over 100 beautiful temples. Hundreds of millions of books that he wrote, published, and distributed. He established ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. When he was living in a little storefront, 26 Second Avenue, and he really didn't have any followers. He just had a few well-wishers who didn't have any money. He established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And the people were asking those well-wishers, what is international about this? There's only a few of us on the Lower East Side of New York in a little storefront. The place was such a rundown neighborhood. The rent of that storefront was $125 a month. Even in those days, that was nothing. And he didn't have the money to pay. And after the first month, they didn't know if they would get enough for the next month. And he was telling them this is an international society. This was his intention. And on the basis of that intention, what is the power? It is an international society. Just here in Bombay, Mumbai, there's a beautiful temple in Juhu Beach with hundreds and thousands, millions of people going. There's another temple in Mira Road. There's another temple being built in Vashi area. And we have over 1,000 students sitting here today in our little temple in Chowpatty, Mumbai. In Vrindavan, millions of people go to Krishna Balaram temple. In Mayapur Dham, in Delhi. There's about over 400 temples all over the world. Just born of the power of intention. The intention to please and serve the Lord. In the 70s, Srila Prabhupada, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, the book publishing division of his movement, working extremely hard over time, they were able to publish, I believe, one book every 2 or 3 months at the maximum. Srila Prabhupada told him, I want 17 volumes done in 2 months. And the head of the trust, he said, Prabhupada, that is impossible. And Srila Prabhupada's reply was, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. There was no other arguments after that. Half the department was in New York. Actually, more than half were in New York. Some were in Los Angeles. They had to do illustrations. They had to do the Sanskrit editing. They had to do the editing. They had to do the proofing and the everything. All they had to do the transcriptions. All they had was tapes of Srila Prabhupada speaking. 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And they worked First they had to bring everybody from New York. Most of them were householders, husbands and wives. And they all had to come to LA, Los Angeles, and they had to get accommodations. And they had to set up studios, and they didn't have much money. And this was all within the 2 months. They were working 24-hour-a-day shifts. And ultimately, they finished all 17 volumes. The illustrations, the printing, the publishing, and they were brought to Prabhupada in India just before the deadline. How was it possible? It was not possible. But their intention was to please their guru. Srila Prabhupada did the impossible with the intention to please his guru. And then he wanted to give his disciples the taste of the same thing, to do the impossible to please their guru. You see, when we really want to be instruments of Krishna's grace within this world, when we do not have greed, when we do not have selfish passion, when we really want to please Krishna, and we have the proper guidance on how to do it, that intention can attract a power infinitely greater than any of ours. Krishna can create universes within moments. And Krishna, who is within the heart of all of us, can empower us to overcome all obstacles, individually, personally, and socially, if we just have the right intention. That is what is all important. There is nothing more powerful than the sincere intention to love Krishna, to serve Krishna, and to please the great spiritual masters. Today in this world, we've been so distracted, so disconnected from the true needs of our hearts. Gauranga Prabhu was just discussing in his introduction the corruptions going on. The world is everywhere. We see so much idealistic revolutions happening. In the Middle East, there's revolutions against corruption of leaders. There's been the tearing down of tyrants in Wall Street, which is to a large extent over the years like the heart of the world's finances. Due to excessive greed and arrogance, people misuse their positions to cause so much pain, ultimately to themselves and to so many others. And the people are becoming sick of this greed. There's all kinds of demonstrations, and the police are trying to deal with it. And it's growing. It's growing not only New York City, but the demonstrations are going all over, starting to spread all over America. And here in India, due to unfortunate corruption, influential people are fasting, demonstrating. Srila Prabhupada explained that lust, selfish passion, and greed are the greatest enemies to ourselves and to the society, and the greatest reasons for spiritual downfall. The subtle forms of lust are the desire for profit, adoration, and distinction. And even in a spiritual society, when we put ourself in the center, rather than Krishna or God in the center, then even trying to get more and more followers, disciples, more and more properties, and build more and more temples, that could be a form of greed. We want more and more and more. But if we're motivated by profit, adoration, or distinction for ourselves, our service could be the cause of our fall down. We have to carefully check what is our intentions. We have to distinguish between the real plant or seed of devotion and the weeds that are inevitably going to be growing around it. In order to keep ourselves on the straight path, sadhu sangam is crucial. Association with holy people. Because that association gives a clear understanding of what intention we should focus on and how to nourish it. Satsang gives us knowledge and protects us from distraction. And we water the true seed of the real intention of prema bhakti through our sadhana, our spiritual practice, and through our seva, or practically dedicating our thoughts, our words, and our action to those intentions. Srila Prabhupada created the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to experience the higher taste of love for Krishna, love for God, and compassion to others as the real wealth. What gives real, true fulfillment to the heart. And to create a society of people that could inspire and protect individually and collectively from the distractions of the weeds and the bad dogs that are within us and without us and outside of us. There is no greater power in all of the universe than a simple and humble devotee's intention to please God, to please Krishna. Thank you very much.